Just a couple of days ago, Blizzard released the latest Overwatch patch, and now we've all had a couple days to kind of think it over, to play on it a little bit, and I just want to do a quick rundown of some of my kind of initial impressions on the changes, how effective they were at kind of going towards what Blizzard seems to be getting at, and how I think it's going to affect competitive play. So first, I'm just going to run through the patch notes real quick. The biggest changes were Ana, Diva, and Roadhog, and there was a little Lucio change in there as well. And there was a Sombra change as well, that's right. So the Ana change was to her Biotic Grenade. Biotic Grenade is one of the abilities that was definitely kind of enabling the tank meta, and they nerfed two aspects of it. The first was the effect duration is down from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. So as far as I know, that does affect both the healing amplification as well as the effect where it stops your enemies from healing. So I believe that's cut by 1 second, which isn't, I mean, 20%, so it's significant, but it's that's a little bit harder to measure, and as well as the second part is kind of a little bit trickier to get a measurement on, is the healing boost on allies was cut in half. So both of these basically combine together where it's not like some massive power destruction, right? The Biotic Grenade is still a very powerful, probably overpowered ability. It still does 4 different things in one ability on a relatively short cooldown. But now there's going to be, here and there'll be a situation where this version of Biotic Grenade either does not get someone killed because they are able to be healed in that extra second now, or your ally is not, you can't save an ally because you can't burst heal them as much, because the healing amplification is cut, as well as the amplification runs for 20% shorter. But if any of you have played Ana, I've been playing a lot of Ana the last couple days. She still feels just fine, honestly. I really don't think Ana is going anywhere in the meta, especially because, you know, kind of the people that Ana have replaced over time, you know, Mercy and Zenyatta, haven't received any changes, and I don't imagine that Ana is going to leave the competitive meta or stop being a good hero, even just on ladder. So Diva was the second major change in this patch, and it was they switched basically her health and armor numbers. Previously, she had 400 armor and 200 health, and now they just switched, and it's 200 armor and 400 health. That's the one change, and then the second change was that her bullet damage was reduced from 3 to 2 damage per bullet, but the number of bullets shot was increased from 8 to 11. So if you manage to hit all of the bullets, which is very unlikely because of her big spread, I believe the damage is 24 to 22. So it's only 2 damage less per shot, in theory. But now what happens is because of the spread and there's more rounds, if you miss more of those rounds, each one does less damage. So overall, Blizzard explicitly says that they were trying to lower her damage a little bit. But it isn't massive because it's per shot, it's like 2 damage from 24 to 22. In theory. And I'm kind of fine with that. Diva shouldn't have been crazy tanky and done pretty decent damage. And her damage was I don't know if the damage was really the problem. The armor change I think is very good, but the damage change, it's slight, but I think it's appropriate. But the really big change though is the armor health change. And for those of you who don't know, armor, oh shoot, what is it? It's any shot against armor that does less than 10 damage. I believe it's cut in half, and then I think if it's over 10 damage, it's reduced by like 3 or something like that. But basically, there's some formula that armor essentially takes less damage than just health does or shields do. So what this meant was Diva had 400 of this health that was worth more than 400, especially against targets like Reaper, who instead of doing lots of damage with each individual bullet, do small amounts of damage with each individual bullet, but shoot lots of bullets, right? So Reaper had a really difficult time killing Diva because it took him a very long time to work through 400 health of armor. But now that Diva is down to only 200 health and armor, she's easier for everybody to kill except for like Zarya and stuff with beam weapons. But Reaper feels a lot better against Diva now, and they explicitly comment in the patch notes that Diva's armor often made her feel like she had no weaknesses, even against heroes that are typically effective against bigger targets like Reaper. And Reaper this patch also feels pretty fantastic to play, at least on ladder. I don't know how he's going to operate in competitive still. I think a lot of the same problems are there that still exist for him, but at least now he can kill D.Va with left clicks. D.Va still proposes a large problem for him because, of course, she can still just eat Death Blossom with her defense matrix, just consume it, and it doesn't do anything. So it's still very risky to nano boost a Reaper and throw him in like we're kind of used to having a Reaper in competitive play. That's still very risky against a D.Va. At least he can win that 1v1, but it's still just it's risky. I'm not sure we're gonna see Reaper. Because, and another reason I'm not sure we're going to see Reaper is the Roadhog, the hook changes. Now, previously, every once in a while, for really bad Roadhogs like me, like Ana, who had like kind of a weird hitbox, and like Reaper would get away from a Roadhog when he hit the hook. I would fail to kill them all the time. But for good Roadhogs, that wasn't always a problem. And now it's just a little bit easier to secure those kills on a couple different targets with all of the changes. I'm sure you guys follow them as well. But basically what happened is they did some like line of sight changes. So instead of pulling targets just towards Roadhog, it just puts them in front of him. And that makes it easier for, or that makes it better for the Roadhog in weird situations where it's like kind of around a corner that he hit them. As well as he can only do those around the corner hooks. The line of sight is now checked from Roadhog, not from the hook. So again, you have to be able to see the target to hook them now. You can't really pull them around edges and stuff. But because it's more consistent that way, Roadhog is a little bit better time one-shotting people. Now, of course, if Reaper can outplay that hook with Wraith Form or just by dodging it, he still eats Roadhog alive. He really does. And it feels really good for the Reaper now because he can deal with any of the tanks now. Winston gets eaten, D.Va gets eaten, Zarya, Roadhog, even Reinhardt. So I think there is that chance that Reaper comes back, but Defense Matrix is just so powerful that it's just difficult to play around because yes, the Reaper feels better when fighting D.Va specifically when it just comes to a standard fight, but in large scale team fights when D.Va is looking to block enemy ultimates, he still feels risky. So I'm not sure on that one. Moving on, there was a small change to Lucio, which I don't really know. I don't know if this is going to help or not. I think it's technically a small buff, but what it is there's a new hero option because, there are some hero-specific options in the settings, and this one is allow backwards wall ride, and it's quite literally he can use his passive while moving backwards. And I don't see any way that this hurts Lucio, essentially. Giving him more freedom to move about the map doesn't seem like a bad thing, for the Lucio at least. But I think it's going to take a very creative Lucio player to use this and get kind of more out of it than before. But that's quite possible. We see a lot of very creative Lucio players. So overall, that's just a kind of small buff. I don't think it's going to be massive. Lucio's already in the meta. He's not going to leave. But the change that I think might be the most kind of interesting is the Sombra change. And the Sombra change was specifically to her hack ability. So the cooldown was cut pretty drastically. It was cut 4 seconds from 12 to 8. So that's a full, a third? Yeah. And the time to hack a target has been reduced from 1 second to 0.8 of a second. And specifically on that part, the developers commented, Sombra often had difficulty hacking enemies, even when she surprised the target. This change should help her execute hacks more easily. So, especially in situations where you're up against maybe a Zarya, or we're seeing more Symmetra these days, we don't really see Winston, but somebody with kind of, beam weapons or kind of area of effect weapon like Winston has, Sombra's hack could get interrupted pretty easily because they just kind of had to sweep over you and it would stop. So that it seems small because it's a 0.2 seconds, but you got to think about it because that's a full 20% reduction in time, and 0.8 of a second is not a super long time. So now if Sombra is able to get behind a target, which is very easy for Sombra to do with invisibility and her, I can't actually remember what the ability is called, but her little teleporter that she can throw. It's very easy for her to get into the backlines, and now that's a 20% less time that target has to react to not get hacked. So if you're up against, especially an Ana, you get in the back, hack her, and then Ana without Biotic Grenade and without Sleep Dart is not a very effective duelist. Those are the two tools that make her such an effective duelist. So you can take that away just that little bit easier now. But I think another big thing is the cooldown reduction, actually. The solid 4 seconds, especially the way that we see Sombra being played a lot these days, is, of course, she goes and she immediately starts hacking health packs. And when she has hacked those health packs, people use them to heal, and she can charge her ult very quickly. And it seems small, but those 4 seconds are 4 extra seconds that she can move to the next health pack and the next health pack. And that happens pretty frequently because when you're thinking about, say you're attacking Hanamura Point A, if you're attacking in the building just across from the gateway and kind of off on the side, there are two large health packs, and the ability to hack both of those much quicker, 24 or 16 seconds now as opposed to 24 seconds. And then if you're also going to look at, then she's going to jump into the backline and use another hack. That means she only needs 24 seconds to do pack, and then be ready to hack somebody in the backline. Previously, that would have been 36 seconds. So that gives you that full 12 extra seconds. And who knows, that 12 seconds, you fail the first time, maybe you do it again, that ends up being 30 seconds, 40 seconds, maybe if you do it a few times. That could be a whole extra attack that the team with Sombra gets to do. So those little seconds might add up. So overall, I think Sombra, that's definitely a buff, like undeniably a buff. But if it matters enough to bring her into competitive viability, we'll still have to see, because it's still relatively simple to play around Sombra if you're smart about it. If you know that they're attempting to use the health pack charge, you could stop trading as much. That's something that we don't see teams do very often, but it's very possible to just stop shooting at your enemy as much and stop trading, especially since you're also then feeding the support ultimates and stuff. So overall, this patch, we'll have to see how much it changes. The really big thing is that D.Va feels a lot worse this patch, for competitive play especially. She's no longer such an invincible, frontline. Roadhog as well, actually. Because I mentioned how Reaper does better against D.Va now, but Roadhog does as well, because he also has a shotgun-style weapon. So Roadhog with his new hook and his shotgun is also very good at chunking through D.Va's health now. And the small Ana nerfs, they just add up to D.Va is not nearly as invincible as she used to be. So we might see D.Va get phased out of the meta. I doubt we'd see Winston come back in, because then Reaper would totally come in and just eat Winston alive. So maybe we'll go to, I know Kirby hates this, but the 2-2-2 meta, 2 DPS, 2 tank, 2 support, might go back to that. Who knows? Or we might just see less D.Va. We might see, Reinhardt, Roadhog, Zarya as your triple tank and no D.Va. And kind of, that gives you a lot less mobile of a team almost, but it still gives you a very solid triple tank setup. And you could still, of course, just have a soldier or a tracer like we see a lot. But overall, I don't think this patch is going to change very much, to be honest. I think it's just kind of a rebalancing, but I doubt it's going to cause like a massive meta shift.